Alright, this is Algebra 1, Chapter 0-1. We're doing plan for problem solving. So today what we're going to do is talk about a 4-step problem solving plan. And those 4 steps are here. Okay? So we're going to understand the problem, and then we'll plan a solution, solve the problem, and then make sure once you solve it, are you answering the question or checking that solution that you have. So each one of these steps has things that are associated with it that you kind of need to be done. So to understand the problem, you obviously have to read the problem. Now these ones, when we're talking about a problem-solving plan, maybe we're talking more of your word problems, your sentence problems, the ones that deal with a little bit more things than just, here's an equation, solve for x, or an r, or a t. These are, you've got to read the problem, you've got to pull some information out. So you need to identify, what are they giving you? Are they giving you some times, or some distances, or some variables to use? And you're going to also want to identify, stand back and say, what do I need? What is it asking me to do? Is it asking me to find the time required to complete a task, or the distance that it's going to go? Once you understand what you're needed, what you have, then you can possibly use a formula that you know, right? I've been using distance, rate, and time. There's a connection between distance, rate, and time. Distance is rate times time. And so once you know those type of things, and step number 2, you can start to plan your solution, and that means define your variables. D is for distance, R is for rate, T is for time. And then write your expression, aka the equation you're going to use to write or solve the problem. Step number 3, solve the problem. It's using the rules of equations for solving your equation in step 2. And just because you get a 2 or a 3 out in your equation when you solved it, is that answering the problem? Is that 2 mean 2 hours, or are you supposed to use that number to figure out with the rate that was given, how far you went, and those things? So does it make sense? So we've all heard the classic problems of a guy goes to the grocery store and buys 40 watermelons. Nobody buys 40 watermelons like that, right? So, you know, if all of a sudden the problem comes out to the solution, the guy's buying 500 watermelons to fit into his car. Now, it very well could be, but you kind of sit back and say, okay, can that even happen? And so you kind of make a little bit, does it make sense type thing. And if it doesn't seem to be right away, be like, okay, that's a possibility, then maybe we should better go back and check our work. And this also means take the answer that you found and plug it back into the equation you used, and it should still work out. And then obviously does it fit the information? It's asking for the average speed, and you have time. Well, no, time is not speed. So you better figure something out here. Something either you didn't completely answer the question, or you missed it completely. So let's put this into practice. And the first example is Ling's hallway is 10 feet long and 4 feet wide. He paid $200 to tile his hallway floor. Okay? How much did Ling pay per square foot for the tile? I'll show you. Maybe when we say for the tile, basically for the tiling job, right? Because he paid $200 to tile his floor. So this could be 2 different ways. He only paid $200 for all the tile, so we're just asking how much is it per square foot of tile, or are we talking about him paying somebody to actually tile his floor? At this point, it doesn't really matter. We just kind of assume that 10 feet by 4 feet wide is his hallway. There's going to be a set amount of tiles there. It's either going to be price for the person putting it in or the price of the tile itself. So we gotta have to understand the problem. So what are they giving us? They're giving us 10 feet and 4 feet. What is 10 feet and 4 feet? It's the dimensions, right? The dimensions of the hallway. So it gives us that the hallway is 10 feet by 4 feet. So we were given that. We're also given information that the total cost of this whole thing is $200. Yeah, I'm kind of listing things, I'm just pulling pieces out. That's given. There's one last thing about the understand part. The understand part also says, hey, what is it asking us? Overall, it's asking us how much does it cost per square tile. So we want cost per square tile. So the cost per square tile. So do we have, okay, so now we got a plan. We got a plan and figuring out, how do we figure out the cost per tile? Wait a minute, cost. Think of cost. What is cost? Cost is money, right? Per tile square, or square tile. Well, to get square tile, or square foot, right? Actually, let's take that out, make that not, it's square foot tile of tile. And so what we have here is money per square foot of tile. Square feet. Wait a minute, we need to know square feet. How do we figure out square feet if I have a length and a width? You multiply it. So we can multiply. So we need to find the square feet, right? So we got to find the square feet. That's our plan. Find, maybe I'm going to use this. That would be feet squared or square feet. Find the square feet. And then we know the cost already. So we need to put that plan together with the square feet and that $200. Here's the really cool thing. Is that here, this sentence here is kind of telling us the plan. We want to know cost per square foot. Per means like miles per hour. And if we wrote miles per hour, you guys would be like, oh, that's miles per hour, right? What does that big line mean? It means dividing. You're dividing. So guess what? I'm going to go here and say it's per. That means it's a dividing symbol. So then what we can do from here is, wait a minute. So we're going to ignore the miles per hour. We're just going to use that to kind of get the springboard. But we want to know, here's our plan. It's going to end up being cost divided by feet squared. There's our plan. If I can take the total cost, which we know, and divide it by the total square feet, which we will find, we'll have an answer, right? Because it'd be cost per square foot. So, now we have to solve it. To solve it, we start to put our numbers in. But, wait a minute. We don't have that square foot. We have cost. I'm running out of room here. We'll check it. We'll move the check down later. I know the cost. The cost is $200. That was listed right above. But what about this feet squared part? How do I find that number? How do I find that?
Multiply 100 by 4. I mean, 10 by 4.
10 by 4, right. So over here, our feet squared is 10 feet times 4 feet. A little multiplication symbol between feet times feet is feet squared. And what's 10 times 4? 10 times 4 is 40. So we get 40 feet squared. That's the missing piece we needed. So we're going to put that under here. 40 feet squared. Now, a lot of times students look at that and they get kind of mixed up. They kind of have to say, oh my gosh, those units, they're just really throwing me off now. So what I like to do sometimes, and in a lot of our problems, units are going to cancel each other. But in this one, they don't cancel, they add to the problem because our problem needs to be cost or money per divide square foot. So we have our money over square feet. So that's good. And so I'm going to break that out so we can ignore. I know I'm kind of running off of a line here. I'm going to break this out the back side and put my units on the back. It's okay. A lot of times, now money is one of the only funny ones that we always like to put the symbol in front versus at the back. But what now is I only have to deal with those numbers. And those numbers are 200 over 40. We just have to reduce it, right? Because fractions are always reduced. Now, how can we reduce that? Do you know a trick that would make it go about 5 times easier? They both end in a what? A 0. That means they're both divisible by 10. Or a 5. Or a 2, right? Because it's an even number then. But if I divide something by 10, the decimal place gets moved 1 to the left. You remember that? So, here's another cool thing, is that since I'm dividing the top and the bottom by 10, whoops, wrong ones, a 0 can cancel out on the top and the bottom. So now you're left with this 20 divided by 4. And I think 20 divided by 4 is way easier than 200 divided by 40. Now again, those are both even numbers. So if you don't recognize that actually 4 does go into 20, we just divide the top and bottom by 2. Because it's even. Anytime we have an even number, I can divide it by 2. So let's just do it that way. So if I divide the top by 2, 20 divided by 2 is 10. Bottom, 4 divided by 2 is 2. Oh, that can go further. 5. And it's going to be $5 per foot squared. So $5 a square foot. The checking part. Does it make sense? Have you guys ever gone to Menards, Home Depot, Fleet Farm, and perused through the aisles and came across the tile section and looked at tile? Is $5 a tile sound about right? Probably your more expensive tile, but yes, I wouldn't say that would be totally out of the question. So $5 a square foot does make sense. Okay, last example for this group is Emily's family drove 254.6 miles. Their car used 19 gallons of gas. Describe the car's gas mileage. So, some of the things we have to understand are the car went how far? 254.6 miles. And used 19 gallons of gas. That's something that we could understand. That is the stuff we're given. What's it asking? It's asking us to find the gas mileage. Not too many of us go around, hey, what's your gas mileage? We don't call it that. What do we call it? Sometimes we do. Hey, what's your car's gas mileage? I would describe it as what? Oh, my car gets blank per blank. 12 or 15, we'll say 15 or 20 blank per blank. We want to know gas mileage or mileage and mileage, that's horrible, okay, mileage is miles per gallon. Usually someone will ask you, hey, how far does your car go on a gallon of gas? They're actually talking about your gas mileage, fuel consumption. So guess what? By understanding the question and what it's asking, you just created the plan. That mileage, or gas mileage, if you want to put gas in front of it, gas mileage is miles per gallon. That's exactly what we would use for the plan. So, what's our mileage? Well, it's right above. 254.6 miles, right? Over how many gallons? 19 gallons. It's going to change to a single number or reduce miles per gallon. I wouldn't expect too many people to do this one without a calculator. You're done. It's just not a nice number. Same. 15.4? 4? Yeah. 13. Sorry. 13. I thought 15 might be a little too high. 13.4 miles per gallon. Nowadays, that's not that great. My 6-passenger SUV gets better than that in the city. But is it still something that's viable? Yes, it's something that you could very well get while driving in your car. And that's how you drive. And so we kind of did all of the steps. Granted, we didn't write everything down, but we came up with a plan while just understanding the problem that led us to solving it, and by solving it, we came up with 13.4 miles per gallon, and we kind of sit back and say, okay, what's an acceptable miles per gallon for a car? And that would be